going to find the exact value of each trigonometric function, and we have 6 here. The first one we're going to find is sine of 7 pi over 6. And the first thing I want you to notice is that you have a 6 in the denominator. Let's look at pi over 6. That equals 30 degrees. So if you want, you can count 7 of these. We have 7 of these 30 degrees. So I have, if I draw the angle, you know there's 3 here. There's 1, 2, 3, because that's 90. There's 3 more here. That would be another 90. Then we need another 30 here. So when I'm drawing my angle here, this is your initial side, and here's your terminal side here. This is going to be 7 pi over 6. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and draw the triangle here. It's a 30-degree type triangle, and I'm in quadrant 3. Since I know that the length here is -1/2, and the vertical part's -1/2, which is your y part, and your horizontal part is negative square root of 3 over 2. And we're letting our radius equal 1. So this is from the unit circle. So sine is your y. Sine basically of this angle here, you go across. You could do it either way. Opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite would be -1/2. Hypotenuse is 1 because the radius is 1. So our answer is -1/2. But it's best to use x, y, and r and know that sine of theta really is y over r. And if you do it that way, because your sines, when you do opposite on these angles, it's always going to be the vertical part, which is your y part. Okay, because this point right here, right in there, is right there. Okay, so that's how I'm going to do these. Now this one, we have 19 pi over 3. So, and cosine equals adjacent over hypotenuse, which is the same as x over r. Now, pi over 3 is 60 degrees. Pi over 3, sorry about that. Pi over 3 equals 60 degrees. So basically we have 19 of these. Alright? Now, if we had 6 of them, 6 pi over 3, that gives you your 2 pi. Alright, so that would be all the way around here. Okay? And if you had 12 pi over 3, that would give you 4 pi. All the way around here. So now we're left with 7 pi over 3 from that. So I need 7 more 60s. Well, I can still go around again. If I go all the way around again, I'm at 6 pi. This is 4 pi. And now I only have 1 pi left. Okay, so this would be, if I go around again, this would be 6 pi over 3. Or this is actually like 18 pi over 3. Going around 3 times is 18 pi over 3. Well, we're left with just 1 more pi over 3. Because we want 19. So we're just going to go up 30 degrees here. Or 60 degrees, way up here. Sorry about that. And I'm going to draw my terminal side. Now, on the 60 degree triangle, if I draw it like this, I'm not very good at drawing this, but this is your 60 degrees. We know that if I draw this from here down to here, that my x is 1/2 and my y is square root of 3 over 2. And we know that cosine is x over r, so my x is 1/2. So cosine of 19 pi over 3 equals 1/2 over 1, which is just 1/2. Okay? So basically what I did is I made this coterminal. I took 19 pi over 3 and subtracted 18 pi over 3. And then basically what I'm doing is I'm just finding cosine of pi over 3. Now for tangent, we know that this is opposite over adjacent, which is the same as y over x. I also know that pi over 6 equals 30 degrees. But we need -5 of these. So I'm really going I'm going clockwise since it's negative 150 degrees. So if I go clockwise, this is 90. I have to add 60 more, so I'm right about here. So this would be -5 pi over 6. Again, if I draw my triangle here, and this is a 30-degree type angle, the reference angle is 30 degrees. I know that this point right here, my y is -1/2, and my x is negative square root of 3 over 2. So I merely have to divide negative square root of 3 over 2 divided by -1/2. Two negatives make a positive. 2's cancel, so I'm just left with the square root of 3. Now we have secant. Secant's going to be hypotenuse over adjacent, or you could say r over x. Okay, in our case r is going to be 1, so it's 1 over x. And what I'm going to do is also know that pi over 3 equals 60 degrees, and I need 14 of those. 14 pi over 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a coterminal angle. You don't have to draw the angles, we just have to find it. So I'm going to keep subtracting 2 pi. And 2 pi is actually, with you have to have the common denominator, it's going to be 6 pi over 3. So when I keep subtracting there, I'm going to get 14 minus 6 is 8 pi over 3. That's still too big. So I'm going to subtract another 2 pi, 6 pi over 3, and that gives you 2 pi over 3. So 2 pi over 3, that means we have 2 60s. This is what that means, 2 60s. So 2 pi over 3, I'm going 60 here and 60 more. So it's 120 degrees. It's your initial side and a terminal side. So if I go down and draw the triangle here and label that point there, my x is -1/2 and my y is square root of 3 over 2. So my x is -1/2 and my y is square root of 3 over 2. My r is 1. And if you want, since you know that secant is the reciprocal of cosine, you could actually find cosine. So cosine, well, let's just do cosine. Cosine of, we're going to do 2 pi over 3 equals -1/2. So secant of 2 pi over 3 is just the reciprocal of cosine, so that's just going to be -2 over 1, which equals -2. All right, here we have cosecant, who is reciprocal of sine, we'll do the same thing. This case, what I'm going to do first is make this coterminal, and I'm going to keep adding 2 pi to this. So the first one would be 8 pi over 4. You know that's still not going to be big enough. So I'm going to keep adding another 8 pi. If I add another 8 pi over 4, that's going to give me, this is 24 pi over 4, which gives me negative 3 pi over 4. If you want to draw negative 3 pi over 4, remember pi over 4 is 45 degrees. So we have negative 3 of these. And so there's 40, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. Remember, negative means go clockwise, so there we are. Okay. Or we could just add another 8 pi over 4. And that gives you 5 pi over 4. Anyway, again, we don't have to draw them, but I'm going to go ahead and draw my triangle. The 45 degree ones, the sides are the same. Alright, so this point here is negative square root of 2 over 2, negative square root of 2 over 2, this point here. We need, if I take sine is your y portion, which is there. So sine would be sine of negative 27 pi over 4 would equal negative square root of 2 over 2. So cosecant is the reciprocal of that, which equals 2 over negative square root of 2. If you rationalize that, we know our answer is going to be negative. We're going to get 2 square root of 2 over 2, and the 2's cancel, so we get negative square root of 2. And our last one is this one, cotan of 30, well, I just already wrote it down. Why am I writing it down twice? So what I'm going to do is keep subtracting 2 pi, which is I'm going to keep subtracting, it's a 35, 8 pi over 4. And what I can do is I know that 32 pi over 4 is 8 pi. And that gives you 3 pi over 4. And basically what this is you have 35, remember pi over 4 is 45 degrees, you have 35 of those. So basically, since I subtracted 8 pi, that's 2 pi, 4 pi, 6 pi, 8 pi, and then I still had 3 pi over 4, which is right over there. That's 3 45s. 1, 2, 3. And so there's your terminal side there. And that's a 45 degree angle. If I calculate that point there, that is your, in quadrant 2, your x is negative, your y is positive, so that's going to be negative square root of 2 over 2 and square root of 2 over 2. Cotan is x over y, so I'm just dividing these two. They're the same, so we're just going to get negative 1 because you're dividing the same number. And that's all. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.